Did you know in Avatar, the inspiration for the Na'vi species was partially inspired by a dream that James Cameron's mother had about a tall, blue woman? The entire idea of humans getting to an alien planet that has a toxic atmosphere that makes them have to wear breathing masks is actually an unused element from an original story he wrote up called Mother. The rest of the story actually got used for the basis of Aliens in 1986. Did you know in Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, John Rhys Davies actually suffered from a reaction to the prosthetics he had to use to become Gimli? Most of his reaction was inflammation around his eyes. Because of this, he could never be filmed on consecutive days, and he always had to have at least a day off for his skin to go back to normal. He never had a makeup session that was less than 3 hours long. Viggo Mortensen ended up chipping a tooth while filming one of the fight sequences. He requested Peter Jackson to super glue it back on, but Peter ended up taking him to the dentist during his lunch break. They got it patched up, and they returned to the set that same afternoon to continue. Did you know in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, there were multiple deleted scenes and concepts that never made it to the final film? There was a short clip of Yoda arriving on Dagobah, but George decided that the epilogue of the film needed to focus on the members of the Skywalker family. Yoda's scene ended up being included as a bonus on the DVD release of the film. According to Ahmed Best, there's also a deleted scene that includes the Emperor and Jar Jar. In the scene, Palpatine mockingly thanks Jar Jar for granting him emergency powers that end up resulting in him taking over the galaxy. General Grievous was also going to be a small child sitting in a floating chair. George ended up rejecting this as he didn't think that a child would be taken seriously. Did you know in Bumblebee, Peter Cullen is the only cast member to appear in every theatrical Transformers film? He voiced Optimus Prime throughout the series, but he didn't enjoy filming Bumblebee. According to Peter, the studio decided to use a different voice actor throughout the production, and they only brought him in to re-record lines. This way, they didn't have to pay him for multiple recording sessions, and he had to match the other actor's performance since the animation was already completed. Did you know in Kill Bill Volume 1? Originally, Go-Go was written as two separate characters. In fact, they were going to be the twin Yubari sisters, Go-Go and Yuki. Go-Go ended up having almost no lines, and after she dies at the hands of the bride, Yuki would have seeked her out just to end up getting killed in the lost chapter, Yuki's Revenge. All of Go-Go's dialogue at the end of the film would have been spoken by Yuki in this version. Did you know in Sucker Punch, all of the leading girls had to go through some of the strictest physical training possible, and they even had to deadlift 96 kilograms for several months before shooting actually started. Vanessa Hudgens in particular called this period very tormenting, and she broke down multiple times. During the scenes where she cries, she's admitted to actually have brought out memories of these sessions as inspiration for her tears. According to Zack Snyder, Emily Browning actually showed off way more experience with the guns in the opening scenes, since she had already received intense weapons training for the action scenes that were to follow. Did you know in Interstellar, the black hole was so realistic it took 100 hours to render each frame? Christopher Nolan's well known for not taking any shortcuts and being one of the most committed directors out there, but this scene may have taken it to the extreme level of dedication. To make sure the black hole was so scientifically accurate, it would take approximately 100 hours to render a single frame in the physics and VFX engine, meaning that every second you see of that scene took roughly 100 days to render the final copy. Did you know in Kingsman: The Golden Circle, all of the non-field agents have code names that are outliers to the main naming schemes of each association. For the Kingsmen, we meet Arthur, Galahad, and Lancelot, who are all kings of the Round Table. Merlin is part of the lore, but not an actual knight. For the Statesmen, we meet whiskey, tequila, and champagne, which are all alcoholic beverages. Ginger ale is still a drink, but not an alcoholic one. Did you know in The Conjuring, Vera Farmiga experiences some creepy paranormal activities before filming? Before signing on for the role of Lorraine Warren, Vera Farmiga decided to do some research into the real life of Lorraine and some of her experiences. She later received a phone call from the director to have a creative conversation and closed down her laptop screen. After getting off the phone with the director and agreeing to the role, she reopened her laptop, but only to find 3 unexplained digital claw marks across her laptop screen. Did you know in Batman Returns, Danny DeVito's representation of the Penguin was absolutely perfect. The makeup for the Penguin took 3 hours to put on every morning, so he took out one of the cabinets in the trailer and he put a laserdisc machine in with a TV so he could watch his favorite movies in the mirror. When the Penguin is supposed to get pelted with rotten food from an angry mob, he refused to use a stand-in. Also, the scene where the monkey is supposed to deliver a letter from Batman to the Penguin was really hard to accomplish because the monkey was terrified of Danny's makeup. Amazingly, the papers knew that he was being considered for the role a year before he was even offered the part. Did you know in Fight Club, the author, Chuck Palahniuk, didn't even know the twist of the story as he wrote the book? According to Chuck, he didn't know that Tyler and the narrator were the same person until the last third of the story. By then, he had finally picked up on the idea that the two of them acted as one person when they were together, and he decided to finish the story this way. The ending is alluded to when the narrator says, "Could you wake up as a different person?" and the camera cuts to Tyler. Did you know in Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor wears clothing that's a nod to Norse mythology? During some of the opening scenes, in which Thor is teaming up with the Guardians of the Galaxy to save the planet, we can see that Thor is wearing a white vest with a red design on the front. That design is actually Yggdrasil, the world tree that holds up the 9 realms including Asgard, Jotunheim, and Niflheim, all of which have been referenced in the Thor films. While the shirt doesn't hold any meaning to the plot of the film, it is a nod to both the comics and the Norse mythology that surrounds the God of Thunder. Did you know in Me Time, there's a reference to New Kids on the Block while Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart are relaxing poolside about 50 minutes into the film. At one point, Kevin utters the tune from the New Kids on the Block song, Right Stuff. Mark was one of the original members of New Kids on the Block, and his brother Donnie was also a band member after him. Did you know in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, we get a first look at who's most likely taking over the mantle as Black Panther? The heartbreaking trailer may have revealed the answer to the question that's on everyone's minds. Who will be replacing T'Challa as Black Panther? Towards the end, we see a figure descending and making an epic entrance in the Black Panther suit, and all signs point to it being the Princess of Wakanda, Shuri. Not only is the body shape similar to that of a female, but the suit also features diamonds on the face mask, similar to those that Shuri wears as makeup throughout the MCU. Did you know in House of the Dragon, the show has bridged a few key items to the Game of Thrones series? In House of the Dragon riders use the Valyrian sword of Dracarys as a way to command the dragons to breathe fire. This is the same command as Daenerys in Game of Thrones. But in the books, this command is exclusive to Daenerys since the commands of previous dragon riders is unknown. They decided to use the same command in this show to make it more cohesive between the two shows. The Driftmark theme is actually the same melody as the song that Princess Shireen sings in Game of Thrones. According to the books, she learns the song from her fool, Patchface. He supposedly spent time with the Sea People after he found himself to be shipwrecked. Did you know in Billy Madison, Adam Sandler really did hit all those kids with a dodgeball? There's a certain level of commitment actors must have to achieve realism in films, but this is not one of those scenes you'd expect to be just so realistic. Apparently, none of the kids knew what was coming, nor did their parents, much to their displeasure. But given that Sandler didn't know too much about movie protocol, he decided to launch the dodgeballs directly at the kids, hitting some of them, and definitely causing some tears along the way. Did you know in Top Gun Maverick, Penny Benjamin is related to one of the characters from the 1986 original movie? Since Kelly McGillis didn't make her return to the sequel, Maverick needed a new love interest, and that came in the form of Penny Benjamin, played by Jennifer Connelly. While many thought this was a new character, she's actually referenced in the first movie as she's the Admiral's daughter. While the Admiral is admonishing Goose and Maverick, he references Maverick's high-speed tower flybys and an entanglement with the Admiral's daughter, which Goose then mentions is none other than Penny Benjamin. Did you know in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, a mural in honor of T'Challa is featured? In August of 2020, we tragically lost the Black Panther himself, Chadwick Boseman, after an ongoing battle with cancer. And we see in the trailer that a whole tall mural has been painted to honor not only the late actor, but also the character of T'Challa. The portrait is accompanied by Wakandan text that translates to "The King lives and the Panther forever in us," which is no doubt an homage to not only the character in the film, but the actor we all loved dearly. Did you know in Smile, at the end of the film, Rose heads to her childhood home to confront the spirit of her mother. A broken curtain rail can be seen with the light coming through in the bedroom. The light looks like the smile that Gabriel drew, which represents the entity. The colors of the smile throughout represent different feelings. The cursed smile people all wear bright pastel colors, but Rose wears dark, contrasting colors. This is to show the difference between happy and sad. Did you know in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, the inscriptions on the walls spell out a very important message? The trailer makes it clear that, sadly, much like the actor, T'Challa is no more. While it hasn't shown us the cause of his death yet, we do see glimpses at the funeral procession and ways in which the former King of Wakanda is being honored. In one shot from his funeral procession, there are inscriptions on the wall, and if read from left to right, they read out, "In power, T'Challa, our hero, and honor forever."